Hi there, this is Greg Sachs from RISO with 3 questions. This time I'm talking to Matt Casey from CRS Data. Thanks for doing this, Matt.
Glad to.
Question 1. Tax data is not the sexiest end of the real estate data puzzle, yet it is extremely important to the industry. How did you personally land in this end of the real estate pool?
That's a very good question. As you noted, not exactly sexy. I don't think anyone, when you're 5 and asked, what are you going to do when you grow up? I want to run tax data. Not the response you normally get. So my background is in geography. I can tell you a quick side story. When I was a freshman in college back in the Stone Ages, before cell phones, and you would have to go to the one phone or the dorm hall to call your parents, I was very excited. I had decided on the major, and it was geography. I called my dad, who decided no, it's a chemical engineer, and said, "Hey, I'm excited to tell you I picked a major." He said, "Well, what is it?" And I said, "Geography." His immediate response was, "Well, good. You'll know more about geography than the other ways." and I remind him occasionally, like, "Hey, I actually turned it into something."
There you go.
A real job. So anyway, roundabout answer, but from geography to geographic information systems. Went to GIS type work for a while, and then ended up working for CRS, of which the backbone of our system is tax data, or property records. So
yeah,
that's where we are.
That's awesome.
It's funny whenever we talk about potential new entries and new competition. I always say the reality of what we do is the number 1 limiter to competition.
Yeah.
It's just painful.
That's excellent. And I love the geography angle because I was almost a geography minor.
Okay.
And have worked with maps a lot in my career. So that's cool. I mean, I think we might have mentioned that once in a work group meeting. We're going to talk about work group meetings in question 3.
Okay.
Question 2. Are there any common frustrations that you can share about tax data? And do you have suggestions for new solutions to those problems?
Sure. Definitely the first. So tax data, if you don't know much about it, or property record information, in the U.S., it's primarily maintained at the county level.
Mm-hmm.
So when you talk about things like the Universal Property ID, which is a group I'm most involved in, we talk about it's unusual being a U.S.-based standards organization. The adoption interest is actually very high in Europe, where it's almost at a country level. Canada's seen some nice things there. Canada's primarily at the province level. And so a big part of the problem in the States is just 3,000 plus counties, each doing their own thing. And so, it's funny, I'll talk to people about different standard type things, and I often get the response, "Well, why doesn't the county take care of that?" And my somewhat cynical response is, "Have you ever been to an assessor's office?"
Right. I actually have.
Yeah. And if it's to the fine folks or for the county assessor, but their goal is to identify properties, evaluate them, and then make sure taxes are paid.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not a lot of incentive at that level to make sure their data complies with surrounding counties or across the country. But as far as common frustration, I'd really put it in sort of 2 categories: an internal and an external. So internally, we have people that all they do all day, every day is acquire data. And I'm glad they do. That I would struggle in that job. And so they're calling assessors, they're managing people's key data at the sales level. And just, it is a constant battle to present what we do to the county, help them understand how we use the information, that we're not a threat to them, that it's part of the public service, et cetera. So that's, just a lot of challenges there on the data collection side.
Sure.
And then, from the external, in terms of the customers we service, I'll be honest, I don't feel like we, or really anybody in our space, has done the best job in terms of explaining just those operational realities. It's that's that fine balance. You don't want to beat your customers over the head with how complicated it is, but on the other hand, you want them to appreciate the work that is done or what is required. Because we'll often say, well, don't you just get a data feed from each county? Actually, no, it doesn't work that way.
I think it's just a simple commodity that they can just turn the faucet on. And
exactly. Yeah.
And it's way more complicated than that.
Right.
Okay, that's great. All right, you mentioned something that leads into my 3rd and final question. You are the vice chair of the Universal Property Identifier, or UPI work group. How can the UPI help your business and other businesses in the real estate industry?
Sure. Well, in our business, our number one goal in the MLS space is to provide quality, timely information to our customers. And our customers are probably multiple listing services. And so as part of that, we want them to look at us as their core data source. Obviously, you've got listings, which are realtor driven, realtor created. And so that's a little bit outside of our wheelhouse. We do auto pop for those listings. So that's one place where the UPI, in fact, we talked about this in a roundtable this morning, needs to propagate through that auto pop so then it gets to folks like Trestle and Bridge, so that it then gets to the brokers. So I feel like that's one way we can help, but help with what would be the question. And so the UPI, is first and foremost, it's very good to help with deduplication. You get a lot of markets where you've got, we were talking about Jacksonville, Florida, where there are 4 MLSs that are all very close. And there was an individual there representing a broker, and he said he would guarantee that most of his listings are in there 4 times because they're put in each 4. So to me, that's a use case I think most MLSs and brokers can easily understand.
Sure.
Also, I think of it, as going back to the CRS perspective for a moment, is if we're trying to provide that core data, we also want to be the conduit through which other data sets can be brought in. So whether that's wall score data, if it's energy data, you name it, the UPI really helps bridge that gap. And so and I feel like that work group has made a lot of progress. And if you've ever been in that type of work group, there's a lot of work that has to happen before you can even get close to adoption. And I feel like we're at the point now, we're almost there in terms of, we've got a lot of interest in terms of adoption. But from the outside looking in, it's still we haven't done anything. We haven't seen that adoption. So if you're interested in UPI and you feel like you haven't seen anything yet, that's going to change quite quickly. I'm optimistic, but I think we're going to see some adoption fairly soon.
That's great. I agree. And that's it. That's our 3 questions. Thank you, Matt, for doing this.
Very welcome.
Take care.
All right, thanks, Greg.